Thank you all for attending our HCAT session. Things are a little different this month, but we're still having our meeting here. So today we had the Youth Advisory Board from the Hampden District Attorney's Office presenting. So they're going to give you a great presentation. So I'm going to get right into it and turn it over to them.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here for this very important event to discuss a very concerning issue. My name is John Fitzpatrick, and I am a member of the Hampden District Attorney's Youth Advisory Board. The purpose of the board is to help the district attorney identify, understand, and address issues facing youth today in schools and communities throughout Hampden County. Although as a board we address numerous issues, we are here today to discuss specifically the access that youth have to drugs online and our perspective and concerns regarding this issue. Our goal is to inform you of how we see social media play a role in accessing various drugs and how we see substance use affect our peers on a daily basis.
To put into perspective how youth are being affected at an alarming rate, we are going to share overdose mortality statistics specifically for adolescents through the ages 14 and 18 years old. As you see circled in the chart, there are 492 adolescent deaths in 2019, 954 in 2020, and 1,146 in 2021. That is a 94% increase in 2020 and another 20% in 2021. More than 70% of those deaths were from illicit fentanyl and other synthetic drugs.
The DEA laboratory has found that 6 out of 10 fentanyl-laced prescription pills analyzed in 2022 now contain a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. This increased from the DEA's previous announcement in 2021 stating 4 out of 10. Fake pills are easy to purchase, widely available, often contain fentanyl and methamphetamine, and can be very deadly. Because they are sold so often on social media and e-commerce platforms, this makes them available to anyone with a smartphone, including minors. You will hear more about the access to drugs on social media from other students soon. Now we will play a 5-minute video created by the DEA and Discovery Education on illicit fentanyl and counterfeit medications.
A counterfeit, it's a mimic of a real product. If you think about sneakers or any kind of fashion wear or even money, right? You can see those products side by side and you can't see the difference between the two. When it comes to medication, the same thing applies. They look just like each other and you can't make that distinction by visually looking at it. Scientists can't even do it. Police officers can't do it. There's a little bit of risk when we talk about merchandise, but there's a very grave risk when we're talking about medications. My name is Joe Bazinko. I'm a senior research chemist with the Drug Enforcement Administration, also known as the DEA. So a counterfeit pill would be one that looks just like a legitimate pill, something you'd get from a pharmacist. We've been analyzing both legitimate and illegitimate pills, or counterfeits, if you will, for decades now. So this is something that's been ongoing. It is now seemingly increasing more in the danger associated with what's contained in those counterfeit pills versus what we've seen in the past. We cannot visually look at a pill and say, oh, that's counterfeit or not. You really don't know until you do the analysis. I can tell you in my 25 years of being a chemist, I have never seen more fentanyl than I'm seeing now. This is not an isolated problem. It is everywhere. Fentanyl has legitimate use in the medical field for the treatment of pain. Illicit fentanyl, that is the fentanyl that we see put into these counterfeit medications, it's manufactured in these dirty labs. There's no great way to measure how much goes into each tablet. It really is reckless. When you're mixing a pill up, you have to mix all the ingredients together, and then you have to put them in the machine, and the machine will punch them out. The problem is with these pills, it's not easy to mix everything evenly. Let's say you had a mortar and pestle, and if I were to put in, say, 10 packets of white sugar, and then say 1 packet of brown sugar, and if you could sit there and grind and mix, you're gonna find there's gonna be hot spots and cold spots in there. an example of a hot spot and a cold spot, you'll see a lot of brown in one area, a lot of white in another area. It wouldn't be uniform, which is to say when it went in to make the pills, that dark spot of brown sugar that was in that would eventually make a very high load on a pill. That pill would have a lot of fentanyl in it. The research suggests that 2 milligrams of fentanyl can cause an overdose. The average pill that we see and analyze here has more than that in it. One pill can very much lead to an overdose. So 2 milligrams is a very small amount. It's literally just a few grains. If you look at a plain sugar packet, and that sugar packet has 1 gram of sugar in it, using the math of 2 milligrams, that sugar packet can kill 500 people if it were fentanyl. I want you to think about what 500 people is. 500 people could be your senior class. 500 people could be half of your school. It could be a part of your town. When I have a fentanyl exhibit brought into the lab, before anything happens at all, I'm gonna put on my protective gear. I'm gonna protect my clothing wearing a laboratory jacket. I'm gonna protect my breathing and my airway using a big heavy mask with filters on it. I'm gonna protect my eyesight so that nothing gets splashed in my eyes. I'm also gonna protect my hands wearing gloves. Even with all of that, we still work in a fume hood, which has vacuum at the back that draws out anything like hazardous vapors or any of the powders. These are just some of the preparation we do when we begin to work with counterfeits, because again, they're unknowns and we prepare for the worst. I've actually had an exposure of fentanyl to where we had a laboratory accident on a fentanyl submission to us. I was rushed to the hospital and I spent the day in the emergency department. So even for those of us that have training, those of us that have the expertise and the equipment working on our side, it's still a danger and still a hazard and can still represent a grave threat to your life. The danger that we see coming from these counterfeit pills is you really don't know what's in them. Fentanyl is a threat that affects everyone in every location, at every age group, and it is not worth the risk. And the fact of the matter is, once you take that tablet, there's no going back. There's no backspace, there's no Control-Alt-Delete. If it didn't come from that pharmacist, it could be counterfeit. It could end your life, impacting all your loved ones and your friends.
The DEA chemist mentions that if it didn't come from a pharmacist, it could be counterfeit, which encompasses all drugs being sold on social media. Unfortunately, I can speak for many, if not all, students here with me today when I say that I have seen social media used to buy and sell drugs. A common method is posting pictures and videos of the various products that a person is selling. This can be anything from marijuana to vaporizers or pen-type products, which are often referred to as carts. A common post from someone who is selling drugs on social media will either be showcasing their available products, or it will include what we have considered to be called a menu. A menu will be a list of what they are selling to include prices. For example, if vapes are being sold, the menu will include the brand and flavor along with prices of different vapes. They may also include products that are soon to be coming. Someone who sells drugs is often referred to as a plug. Sellers and teens who are buying can meet up to purchase or have the seller drop it off to them. If not cash, the applications Venmo and Cash App are very popular for these transactions.
From my experience and what I've seen online, the popular products are smoking products such as vapes or carts that are filled with predominantly nicotine or marijuana. These smoking products do not contain a strong smell like marijuana itself, which could explain why they are popular and used in schools. Despite vaporizers being sold often online, if students have a big test or a lot of homework and need to focus and get a lot of work done in a short period of time, they may seek out a drug like Adderall online to help them. With easy access to sellers and products, young people have many options of who to buy from. I feel that this puts them at a higher risk of encountering a drug that does not actually contain what it is advertised to be.
I'm here today to talk about the DEA emoji drug code. The drug content or posts will typically include emojis to refer to different things. My peers and I had a conversation about this sheet so we could highlight some of the most popular emojis that we often see. One of the most common emojis that we see on this sheet is the plug emoji under the dealer signs. As mentioned briefly earlier, a plug refers to someone who sells drugs. It is also very common for the snowflake to be a cocaine reference and a leaf or leaves to be used as referring to marijuana. Emojis that we agreed were common but were not listed on the sheet are the gas emoji and the fire emoji. You can see them at the bottom of the screen. This would refer to marijuana being of very high quality. You can see under the cocaine section an 8-ball. This 8-ball emoji has been seen to reference a quantity of marijuana, specifically an eighth of marijuana. Not on this sheet, but sometimes often seen is the onion emoji. This also references an ounce of marijuana. Many of these emojis make referencing drugs look harmless, which is why we are talking about them today. If parents are not aware, this can easily be overlooked. A transaction on Venmo or Cash App may look completely innocent, when in reality, it's a drug dealer's receipt.
After our conversations about what we witnessed, it's safe to say that Snapchat is the most common app to communicate this content. Despite this, drugs have still been spotted on Instagram, although it is less common. When it comes to TikTok, we haven't encountered anyone selling drugs, but we have encountered users using these substances actively through their posts. Private stories on Snapchat play an immense role when it comes to selling and buying drugs online. A Snapchat story is essentially a post that lasts 24 hours from when it was posted. Without being said, a Snapchat private story allows you to share a post with anyone you select, like close friends, for 24 hours. Using this feature, sellers can pick out people to view their private stories who they know have bought drugs in the past or may be interested in buying in the future. They can strategically target who sees their content. A seller can add anyone from their contact list to a private story. They don't need permission. Luckily, you have the ability to remove yourself from a private story, but someone doesn't know how to or doesn't bother to do so, they will continue to see this content.
To their credit, Snapchat states they are combating the fentanyl epidemic in 3 key ways. Number 1, they are improving technologies to detect drug-related content and shutting down drug dealers' accounts. This entails investigating in tools to detect drug activity, banning illicit drug dealers using Snapchat, and taking steps to block them from creating new accounts. They're also strengthening support from law enforcement, and this includes working closely with experts in counter-narcotics, law enforcement communities, parents, and organizations to raise awareness. It also includes growing their law enforcement operations team with experience in young safety. They are also partnering with expert organizations to educate Snapchatters directly in their app about the horrific dangers of fentanyl. This includes blocking search results for drug keywords and slang and showing educational content on the dangers of fentanyl. They've also launched videos advertising campaigns to provide further education. Snapchat also does not allow anyone under the age of 18 to show up in search results or as a friend suggestion unless they have mutual friends. Snapchat states they're developing a new in-app tool for parents and caregivers to give them more insight to who their teens are talking to on Snapchat, while respecting their privacy. If you're interested in learning more about the specifics, you can find Snapchat's safety and impact update on snap.com.
Aside from seeing social media used as a platform to buy and sell drugs, we unfortunately also see drug use affect our peers in school on a daily basis. That is why we have a committee that addresses substance use on the Youth Advisory Board. Last year, we created 3 public service announcements to address 3 different types of substance use. Number 1, vaping and marijuana. Number 2, pills. And number 3, alcohol consumption. We'll show the vaping and marijuana PSA first, which I was a part of, and it is pretty embarrassing to see all the time, but it is an important message. We had conversations about a typical scenario we've seen played out and the consequences that follow amongst our peers in school. This 30-second PSA titled Lost Opportunities was a result.
I was at a party my junior year.
There were so many people there,
but I still felt like an outsider.
Everyone looked like they were having such a fun time.
The one thing they had in common was they were all drunk and high.
I never had a real interest in partaking in these things.
That was until someone came up to me and offered me a hit of their joint.
I thought, How bad could it be if everyone else is doing it?
The moment I hit it, I felt like I could finally fit in.
I began smoking every weekend with my new friends.
I love the escape of getting high.
I was smoking almost every day.
I couldn't even get through a whole school day without this escape.
I lost my motivation and credibility as a student.
It was time to apply to colleges, and doors began to close.
Now, I finally stopped.
But my lungs aren't what they used to be.
My memory is hazy.
I've lost many opportunities.
Using substances such as marijuana or vaping at a young age has consequences. If you need help or want to learn more, call now.
Pretty embarrassing, of course, to see myself speak, but nonetheless an important message. We wanted to create this next PSA to portray a story of how addiction can start as a teenager in high school. This particular scenario highlights two athletes who became injured and are prescribed medication by their doctors. We titled this PSA, Pills Ease My Pain.
6 months ago, I was a varsity football player.
I was a varsity soccer player. I was a pretty good player.
Really good. That was until I broke my arm.
That was until I broke my leg. I had to get surgery done on my leg, and the doctor sent me home on meds. They recommended I take them to manage the pain.
Whenever I started feeling the pain, I'd take a pill, without even thinking about it.
I didn't even know I was addicted until I went to grab the bottle, and it was empty.
The pain went directly to my head. I panicked.
I looked around for anything to subdue the pain.
I went to the medicine cabinet in the bathroom and found the leftover meds from my mom's surgery. I took 3 to ease the pain.
Soccer was my high, but now soccer's not my game.
Pills ease my pain.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, there is help available. You can always check in with a trusted adult at home or at school, or call the Massachusetts Substance Use Helpline because your life is worth saving.
Lastly, we wanted to address alcohol consumption. Although the spotlight of our presentation today is on pills, marijuana, and vaping, alcohol consumption amongst high schoolers is something that is still occurring and a huge concern. Our goal for this PSA was to portray the tragedies that can occur when mixing alcohol with driving, and it's called Always 17.
My older sister was 17 years old. She was my best friend my entire life, and I always wanted to be just like her. Her and her friends were in her room down the hall getting ready for prom. I waited up for her to come home to hear all about the dance, but she decided to go to the big after party. They left for the party, but my sister never came home. It was 2 a.m. My dad opened the front door to a police officer. My heart sank.
I saw the tears in my dad's eyes. My sister and her friends had been drinking that night and didn't think twice about getting into the car. Their friends said he was fine to drive, but clearly he was not. They got into a head-on collision on the drive home. I'm now 18, but my older sister, she'll always be 17.
One decision can change your life in a split second. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol addiction, help is available. Please be safe on the road.
Although I'm sure everyone attending this event is already aware of many resources available to us in the community, we felt it necessary to highlight a few.
84% of Generation Z say coping with stress and anxiety is a common reason for RX abuse. Given this statistic, we wanted to highlight 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. The 988 Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provide free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. With so many young people coping with stress and anxiety, this lifeline connects people with trained counselors who will listen and connect them to resources if necessary. We encourage our peers and young people in general to know who their school counselor is, and that they are available to talk to about various issues regarding school life or their personal life. For adults, online parent toolkits can also be a great resource. The 3 campaigns, Operation Prevention, You Think You Know, and One Pill Can Kill, all provide parent resources to help learn more about the opioid crisis, recognize warning signs, open up lines of communication with their child, and much more. There are materials here today from all 3 of these educational campaigns. The parent resources can be found on all their websites. Lastly, we know that loved ones of those with substance use disorder are affected most. That's why we want to highlight Learn to Cope. Learn to Cope is a peer-led support network that offers education resources and hope for family members and friends who have loved ones affected by substance use disorder. They hold in-person and virtual meetings in English and Spanish, and a full calendar can be found on their website. Thank you for being here for this presentation, and thank you for listening to our perspective.
These guys have been such troopers, and I just want to have them acknowledge them. I want to acknowledge the work that they've done, the fact that they took a day out of school to be part of this presentation. And at this time, I'd like for them to at least introduce themselves and let you guys have an idea of what schools they all attend, all of you. So just pass the microphone around, and then we'll move from there. Thanks. You can stand up.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Matt Favada. I'm a senior at Ludlow High School.
My name is Blanca Maya. I am a senior at Springfield Honors Academy.
My name is Isabella Oliveira. I'm a sophomore at Agawam High School.
My name is Abdul Al-Casey. I'm a senior at Hampton Charter School of Science West.
My name's Kristen Vinciguerra. I'm a senior at Agawam High School.
My name's Kiara Hawes, and I'm a senior at Chicopee High.
My name is Morgan Murphy, and I am a junior at Holyoke High School.
My name is Madeline Patel, and I am a senior at the White Oak School.
My name is Victoria Mazzaferro, and I'm a junior at East Lamido High School.
My name is Mia Chavez, and I'm a senior at Chicopee Comprehensive High School.
My name is Margaret Cronin, and I'm a junior at Southwick Regional School.
My name is Mia Dolcinos, and I'm a junior at Southwick Regional High School.
My name is Tiffany Maharn, and I'm a student at White Oak.
Is that everyone? Oh, John Fitzpatrick. So I just have one comment to make. So earlier today, when we had a conversation in there, they asked questions, and one of our board members asked questions about youth and what's the youth perspective. And they got sort of an answer that youth always get. People spoke around them. I don't even think anyone even knew to say, we got 13 students here, let's ask them what helps them. And that's indicative of us as adults. And I found it, they spent the day here and they're giving their expert advice, and we really rely on them in the Hamden County District Attorney's Office to help guide us when we talk about various issues when it comes to youth, because they are the answer. We're not looking at tests. We're not looking at the youth risk assessment surveys, which are very important. We're not looking at the prevention needs assessment surveys, which are very important, but we're asking them. These kids are very smart kids, and they're very smart in their own right, and they have a message, and we take our message from there, and we take our cue from them. So I hope you all enjoyed their presentation. I think they did a fantastic job, as they always do, and I'd like to just give them another round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And here's John Fitzpatrick from East Lamido. He's actually the president of the Youth Advisory Board and does a very, very fantastic job. So does anyone have any questions of any of our students at all? Anything? Yes. Can I just say one thing around that? I know you guys are going to speak. The presentation that they did is not meant for youth. We're not going to schools and telling kids, high school kids, how to get drugs. Absolutely not. This presentation that they did is specifically for adults only, just so parents know that they have to pay attention to what their kids are doing. So if anyone asks, if we bring other presentations to high schools and middle schools, our Just Once presentation. But in regard to this serious topic, it's almost one of those situations, and John and Victoria and I were talking about on the drive up, where parents really, really need to wake up. They need to be shaken. They need to be told that this is not the time to use your child's phone or their iPad or their whatever digital device as a babysitting mechanism, because they're getting into so much trouble. And social media, try having your kid purchasing drugs online, and that happens as they've told you. So I'll let them answer. Do you have any other answers that you want to give?
was just gonna say that we go like. I was just gonna say that we obviously like dial it down a little bit for elementary school kids and middle school kids, but we do have NetSmarts, which is kind of internet safety for like second and third graders, and we go to their schools and it's a cool experience. They like look up to us and we talk about how we should be safe online and use a more kid-friendly attack to it so that they feel like it makes more sense to them and it's not as harsh as it was today.
And just on that, when it comes to schools, we were just at Holyoke Charter with Mr. Mark Yakum the other day. We do talk to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and we have a Just Once presentation, and we talk to them from a level of, we know what you're doing. We don't talk to them from a level of, okay, you guys are doing pills. We talk to them to the point of, we know you're vaping, and we know that they are. And we talk to them from that level. These things, we know you're smoking marijuana. We know 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, this is what you're doing. And these are things that are going to set you up to be like this character or like these people in the program, in the video that we show.
First of all, thank you. But for my school, I'm going to go with both adults and what kids really look at me. So I'll start with the kids. So Bella and I, we initiated a different program from the DA within Agawam High School. And there are posters around school. And there was one class, there was some girls like, oh, what is this? This is stupid. Why is this even here? And my teacher goes in front of the whole class, well, ask Kristen. She implemented it. And I completely stuck it to the girl's face because it was very rude. And that's really how people respond. They either don't know that I'm involved in this or they're just really confused and off-put. Adults, really, I've implemented and been trying to implement things from the DA. It's hard. They look at me like I'm 5. Like, it's very hard. And standing up here and talking to all of you, I'm so glad that you're able to look at me eye to eye. But unfortunately, it's frustrating when I'm going to my principal being, hey, there's drugs in our school, there's violence in our school, and then I just get brushed off like I'm a 5-year-old. It's very frustrating, and just to get the message out to all of you, don't treat us like that. We're smart. We know what we're talking about. That I'm standing up here, I'm talking to all of you. I'm like your best friend right now. Like, I'm not a 5-year-old. Don't treat me like a 5-year-old.
Anyone else want to answer that? One other person?
So I have a slightly different experience. Me personally, the faculty and staff at my school actually really appreciate everything that we do, especially bringing their attention towards the other programs that we offer for high school students through the DA's office. However, students are a little upset that we all kind of call them out on absolutely everything because obviously now everybody knows that there's drugs on Snapchat. So everybody's a little upset about that, but it's all to keep everybody safe.
Very good. Any other? Okay. Hi. So the question for the Youth Advisory Board is what helped them make these decisions that led them here?
Just want to make sure. Okay, so this comes from like the Springfield perspective. A lot of people here may know Springfield and Holyoke are like a hot spot for drug dealers and stuff like that. Growing up around that, let's be honest, I don't want to paint a stereotype, but a lot of people in Springfield and Holyoke, their uncles, brothers, parents, maybe drug dealers, they grow up around that environment, so they see that firsthand themselves. I was talking about this with Gina. I feel like a lot of people in Springfield and Holyoke, they lean more to marijuana or softer type drugs because they see firsthand like heroin and all those effects. So they're kind of isolated from that. Not isolated, but it's like they want to do better. They don't want to become like their uncles, brothers, and parents because there is a lot of pressure saying don't become like them. And they retain that information.
So for me, I grew up around my dad was an alcoholic when I was younger. He passed away from it when I was younger. And it was like a hard thing to watch. It's like someone you love is going through that. And as I grew up and all my friends started to do, I was like, this is scary. Like all my friends are doing this and my dad died from this. And it like I try to enforce it in them in a way from like a perspective of someone they know. And I feel like it sticks for a lot of them, but for a lot of others, it doesn't. And I feel like just keeping my safety and being able to be there for my family and my younger sister and things like that is what kept me like that.
So for me, I've noticed a lot of students, like my friends, those who do it, I feel like the best way to show them what the right way is to lead by example. Like when like people offer you, just say no thanks, no I'm good, that stuff is bad for you. Like and alternatives for me, I usually just like find other activities to give me the rush. Like people do the drugs to get like the rush, like the euphoria from it, and I just like substitute it with focusing on my academics. Like I know it sounds nerdy, but like focusing on academics and like sports. I just like enjoy watching it and playing it. Just anything to get my mind off all that stuff and why others are doing it and why I'm like excluded from it.
This is an easy answer for me, I guess, fortunately. I went through the DARE program. I was the only kid that the DARE program worked on. I was scared of Tylenol till about 2 years ago. My parents didn't have to have this conversation with me. It was pretty easy. And then I guess going into high school, when I guess the DARE program kind of wore off, I guess, I threw myself into my academics. I was always looking at my parents like, I want to be like you, I want to be like you, I want to be better than you. So I threw myself into my academics, and that's what kept me sane, I guess.
So I kind of wanted to go back to your question on how you asked them like how we're implementing things to different high schools, specifically like Central, Putnam, and SciTech. I think what we all can say as like members of the board is that we're all kind of advocates for our own community. We are all experts of our community, so we take what we get and we bring it back to our community. Kristen implements certain programs that she takes from the district attorney's office to her school. I've asked my school to like have like Tony and Gina do like presentations on drunk driving for prom. So we take whatever we see that is a problem and we bring it there. And we do have representatives from like Central and Putnam and SciTech too at the board. They just didn't come today. Yeah. So we get like a lot of different stuff in the Hampden County. I know this isn't 100% Hampden County, but for that type of thing. I want to say, so I know going into your question. So me personally, I've just always been a type of person where if I don't want to do something, I don't. Unfortunately, that's not the case for like everyone else. And I think I definitely can plug it into like other things, like, you know, my academics and just kind of having that type of potential. And what I've noticed, I'm class president. I'm not using that to brag. I'm using that to say, like, I talked to like a bunch of other people, and especially a bunch of people in my class. I've spoken to every single person in my school that I can probably think of. And I think just having that simple conversation. I hung out with a friend of mine that I've known since I was in the 6th grade. First time we ever hung out. And I had one simple conversation with him. And I was just like, you need to like trust yourself. You need to prioritize yourself. And just sitting there and saying like such basic things, it was such a fundamental thing for him. And he really was sitting there and he was like, wow, this is so deep. And to me, I'm like, this isn't deep. Like, you know, come on. But to him, like that was so deep and it was so important for him to hear. So I think just having that like super simple conversation really puts into perspective for so many of them. Because like, so many people don't have that role model or they have that type of environment in like their household. And now we're defining family types and family like archetypes. And we're saying that this is dysfunctional when you really thought it was perfect and you don't know anything besides your household. So when you grow up in that environment, you don't know anything else. So just having that simple conversation and talking about it. And I think also like youth, like every single person that I've ever met on the board, they're fantastic. Like they surprise me in like all different types of ways. There's so much potential with youth. So I think really pushing that out there and really, really, really emphasizing that to find your own potential and put that anywhere you can just really will kind of keep them from anything negative and kind of push them in the path that they're happy with and that they want to pursue.
Okay, so for me personally, the reason I didn't go down that path and never really thought about it is because I've personally been affected by family members from drug overdoses and alcoholism. So me personally, it's always just kind of been like, I don't want to end up like that. And just the simple fact that I've always been able to have open conversations with other family members and they've never like made me feel inferior to them, and they've never dumbed it down for me. They've always been 100% honest about everything and never lied and didn't try and like scare me into not doing anything, but they were always open and honest about it.
So I think for me, alcoholism runs in my family, so does substance abuse. And I think I've always just had conversations about it with my parents. And I was educated from my parents. And also, I don't see a lot of drug use in my school. And I go to a private school in Westfield. And the entire student body is probably like 60 kids. So maybe like 2 out of the whole 60 kids. So luckily, there isn't a lot there, which I'm thankful for. And some ways that I just haven't done it is I just keep myself busy, and I value education, and I come from a household that values education. So I think that's big.
I'm going to answer it. I would say there are really two key components to why I never chose that path. The first being I've seen the effect it's had in my own family with substance use, alcohol, mental health. I've seen the effects of that in my own family. And the other reason being because I've had such great role models in my life and such great mentors, and I'm very fortunate for that. And I understand that for many people, it's not the case. And I feel like having a mentor, somebody to look up to, somebody who you say, I want to be like this person when I grow up, that's very important, especially in keeping young people off of drugs and out of the way of alcohol, and keeping them safe. So I think really mentors are important. It's about my piece.
Excellent. And by the way, we have 62 Youth Advisory Board members, and we have 22 towns represented on our Youth Advisory Board. Any other questions? Paul, did you have a question back there? Anyone who wants to answer that? It was you. Oh, actually, Matt. He's like, ooh, 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 ooh. Welcome back, Carter. Anyone remember that show? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I'm showing my age.
So, my parents, took a pretty standard path. They went to college, they got their degrees, and they went into the workforce. They work 9 to 5 jobs. They're like a pretty average family. Luckily, I have an amazing brother by my side. He's a little bit younger than me, but we are like the most competitive people in the entire world. Our parents did a little bit of a different take than what some of the board members said. They really don't emphasize education. They kind of let us take the wheel, They do check up on us to see if we're, passing. Passing, I mean getting like a B average or above, but they do not instill in our brains, you have to get these perfect grades or I'm going to be disappointed in you. They want you to try your best. They want you to, if you try your best and get a C on a test, well, you tried your best. It's not like somebody studying for so many more hours is going to get you a B. No, you tried your best, move on, and learn from it. So I think also having a partner in this high school career is very helpful. And I think just knowing what your values are, prioritize your mental health. That comes first, because your mental health comes first over anything, over education. If you have good mental health, if you get good sleep, you're going to be successful in anything you do.
Kiara, why don't you, I know you had something to say, so why don't you go ahead?
I was just going to say what also Matt said, like my mom, she always was just like, give it your all and try your best. And here I am now. And I know it's like, I think it's a rare case of me personally, because my mom's not strict at all. Like she has always been very honest with me. She's always like established that really good trust and like within me. And we've always had those conversations and I've never done anything, but again, like simply because I didn't want to. But I've seen like so many kids who have really strict parents and like they have parents that are always on them about their grades or their this and that. And like, they always are the ones that I see tend to kind of go down that bad path because they're always like, okay, well, my parents are going to be proud of me if I don't do this much and I can't do that much. So I'm not even going to try. So I'm just going to do what I want anyway. So I think that's kind of just like a different perspective on it. And again, like I do think I'm a rare case because truly like my mom and we have a great relationship and I'm very grateful for that. And she trusts me 100% and I don't do anything, like I go home and just sleep, homework, So it's like not what a lot of people would do, but I do see a lot of people with strict parents are often the ones that are doing like the most things that you don't want them to do.
I was just going to add to that. If kids are afraid to go to their parents about, say, a bad grade on a test, how do you think they're going to feel going to their parents about seeing an instance in school drug related? It's the same exact thing. They're going to be scared. So I just preach having an open conversation with your children, and preach prioritize yourself first. Okay. Like the kid.
I have a quick question for you guys. I know we're pressure time, but real quickly, on our end, so we do post-overdose outreach, and I work usually with adults. What do you guys think that we could be doing better? Like from your perspective and stuff, like asking you the question, like what can we do better? Or like what can we do better? In the aspect of like, in the community with education for, we work usually with adults, so maybe for their children or stuff. Like what can we do as a whole, like as HCAT on like the post-overdose outreach side of things? Like what do you guys think that we could do better? Yeah, we do. So we do post-overdose outreach, yeah.
This was brought up as well when we went to Westfield Technical Academy last night. I definitely think there should be more like rehab for specifically adolescents. Like, you don't want to mix them with the adults and stuff like that. And it is a big issue with adolescents. So definitely creating centers centered on adolescents would help a lot and would probably make them more comfortable going and getting that help.
I guess really what I said before, talk to us, first of all, look us eye to eye. And again, like Blanca was saying, we need programs. Like we need programs in middle school, maybe elementary school, but I talked about DARE before. Clearly that wasn't the way to go, but something like it, some sort of education, something, start early. You need to get it in there, get it in our brains, talk about it, and you can't be quiet about it. You can't be submissive. You have to look us dead in the eye and you have to tell us what is going on.
I was just gonna say in like the aspect of talking to teenagers and stuff, I feel like at least when I joined this year, the youth advisory board, and I feel like when I go to presentations with my friends at school, they laugh. We don't pay attention. Like no one pays attention at assemblies. When my friend sees me and tells me that they think something is wrong with me or I need some kind of help, or I tell my friend that they need some kind of help, I feel like it's just so much closer because not even just friends, but someone your age that knows what you're experiencing. So maybe like using people that are more close to their age or something like that so they have more to connect to and it makes more sense to them.
Well, yeah, I feel like like she was talking about in middle schools, like I feel like when I notice, because I go to a charter school and it's 6 through 12, it's not a big student body. There's like maybe 600 of us. So among 6 grades. So I noticed like the middle schoolers, they begin at a young age only to like do it to be cool around their friends. And once they get into like the junior or senior age, when they grow up a few years later, they're only doing it because they're addicted. Like they do it essentially because they have to. Like there's no way they can confront their problems or issues at such a young age because they can't go to their parents. They're afraid to talk to anyone because of the consequences they may face. And also I want to talk about we've had a couple people come and talk about drug prevention. Like we had this one guy come and tell his life story. He was super good about like delivering it, and most students, like it got pretty emotional. They started crying, like he had a bad life. And then we had these two teachers try and come and tell their story. Like she was just saying, people just like laughed about it. So I guess it was just more about delivery. So you just got to find, it's kind of like a hit or miss type of situation. Experiment what works best for your kids.
Thank you guys again so much for being here and taking time out of your day. You guys all speak so well. You guys are always great. So thank you so much for being here and coming today and speaking for us. So. Do you want to do the clicker? Okay, thank you. So we do have a couple minutes just to go over upcoming events. So there is a Public Safety Xylazine 101 training on December 20th from 10 to 11:30. It's on Zoom. You can register online. There's a couple speakers. Stephen Murray, who is here today, he's going to be one of the speakers, as well as Kristen Wasson and then Annie Potter. So this will go out in our HCAT newsletter. So if you guys are interested, definitely register for that. And then some other available resources, just knowledge for individuals to know. Until December 31st, there are no fares or passes needed for PVTA. So we have a lot of individuals. We work out of all-inclusive support services with the Sheriff's Department, and a lot of individuals come in looking for bus passes. So until the end of the year, you can let folks know that they can ride the PVTA. They don't know fares or anything like that. And as well, I kind of will have, I don't know if Holyoke PD talks about the pop-up warming shelters. I don't know if you guys, but the town of Holyoke, they're doing pop-up warming shelters come the colder weather. So there's just information on it. If you guys know anyone, homeless population or anyone in Holyoke, that during the cold weather, there will be pop-up warming shelters. So this flyer will go out. Okay, so our working groups, just to quickly go over our working groups. So primary prevention. Last night, the Youth Advisory Board spoke at Westfield Tech Academy. So they did a presentation on preventing accidental overdose. Westfield Fire, Westfield Police, they did a whole presentation. So if any other communities are interested in doing a presentation like this, please let us know. HCAT can be a support of these events. We did one in Ludlow in the summer. Like I said, Westfield did theirs last night. So any other towns and cities that want to do something like this, please let us know. Please reach out. Any other updates, primary prevention? Anyone from that working group? There's anything else? Okay. Treatment and recovery. Any updates regarding treatment and recovery? I know nothing. Yeah, nothing. We didn't meet this month with the holidays, so we're going to start back up in January. We took December off, so we'll have more updates come January. Post-overdose outreach. We continue to do our post-overdose outreach. We work closely with Tapestry, and they're hoping to hire, as many of you know, Gabe previously worked at Tapestry, and he came out with us for outreach. So they are looking to hire a new individual, so hopefully we will be able to work with them as well for the harm reduction piece when we go out in the community. Marketing, I know the HCAT brochures are getting translated into Spanish and English, so they are coming available soon, so stay tuned. And grants and data, I don't have much on that at all as well.
Just really quick, I think we mentioned the Just Once presentations that we do. We bring them to grades 9 through 12. We talk about the risks of taking prescription medication and also kind of how vaping and drug use in general, alcohol, experimenting can put young people at a greater risk to develop another addiction in the future. So that's Just Once. And we continue to do those presentations. We were at Holyoke last week. I know we're going to Agawam very soon. So I just wanted to add that for primary prevention.
Thank you. Okay, well, we'll see you guys next month. January 11th, we'll be back at the UMass Center in Springfield in Power Square. Thank you all for joining us.